Every Monday and Saturday, what are your political views? Keep a date.
Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, tighten your seatbelt as we take you on this smooth ride. Let's go! It's the morning drive on 103.5 Ebona DFM, keeping your morning engaging as we take you through the smoothest ride on radio.
From 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
Getting your morning inspired, be informed. Let's interact only on the morning drive.
Make it a date with Martin Efanshuku, aka Meta.
And Christy F.E.M.N.R.I. aka Classy.
From Monday to Friday, from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
On the morning drive.
106.5 F1 DSN.
Good morning and welcome to Ebona, the 103.5 FM today, the 11th day of October 2023. Today is Wednesday, and the time is a minute past the hour of 7. It's time for newspaper headlines on Ebona, the 103.5 FM. This morning, we are going to take you through the news, making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers. But before we do that, let's go for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue on the stories making the headlines. Do stay with us.
Do you know that you have the right to quality broadcasting? The National Broadcasting Commission says any person, group of persons, or organization aggrieved by the content of a broadcast or the conduct of a broadcast station may lodge a complaint to the station and write to the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, number 20, Ibrahim Taiwo Street, Asokoro, Abuja, or send a mail via info@nbc.gov.ng. Please ensure that the complaint includes name of the broadcast station, title of the program, date and time of broadcast, and essence of the complaint. Also, remember to include your name, address, telephone number, email, and append your signature. Note that the complaint must reach the NBC within 14 days of the queried broadcast. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
You're welcome back to newspaper headlines on Ebona, the 103.5 FM. This morning, we are going to take you through the news, making the headlines on the Guardian newspaper, Leadership newspaper, Vanguard, Daily Post, Punch, Sun, This Day, The Nation, and if time permits, we're also going to take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. Remember that you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS or WhatsApp messages on 080-9666-1035. You can as well join us on Facebook as we are live at Ebona, the 103.5 FM. Drop your comments on the link of the live video. You can equally stream us online via mixlr.com/gistfm. I am Martin. Let's get started with the Guardian newspaper this morning. Petrol stations shut down as scarcity, long queues hit Abuja. Federal government's bid for concrete roads to spike CapEx amid 10 trillion naira owed contractors. Tinubu orders industrialization of health sector to boost production. Israel, Palestinian envoys defend positions as NCPC suspends Christian pilgrimage. Make 100,000 naira new minimum wage. Salis urges Tinubu. Theft, vandalism undermine gas production as Train 7 nears completion. Ekiti governor's wife offers community service, teaches varsity students. Senate moves to tackle alleged oil theft by security forces, militia groups. ETK Group builds Africa-focused ESG framework for sustainable business growth. Businessman laments EFCC incessant raids, contemplates suicide. FCTA dismantles illegal structures, hideout of criminals. Police arrest 124 suspects, recover exhibits in Ogun. Niger Delta roads in deplorable condition. Clark tells Tinubu. Chief of Defense Staff orders troops to decimate terrorists, reward gallantry. U.S. mission supports preservation of artifacts. Police confirm abduction of DVC, students of Nasarawa Varsity. Gunmen abduct cleric. Others conveying corpse in Kogi. On global scene, specialists identify with mental health patients. Federal government mobilizes contractors to element on the axis of East-West Road. Lagos hosts 100 of returnee Africans October 19th in Badagry. Federal government to initiate policy reforms to turn around health sector, halt medical tourism. Human Rights Writers Association tax Federal's Capital Territory on Special Police Squad on One Chance, missing genitals syndicate. Court remands siblings for clubbing uncle to death. Over 3,000 Nigerians on death row amid calls to abolish capital punishment. Lagos sets 40% food self-sufficiency target. Rescuers avert petroleum fire explosion in Lagos. Arrest driver. Lagos commences enforcement of zero tolerance on street trading in Ikoyi, Lekki. Court dismisses Ayedatiwa's case. 2023 World Bank CSPF Olufemi Oduwo impressed by Morocco's rapid economic development. International Day of the Girl Child, Bayelsa Community. International Day of the Girl Child, Bayelsa commits to greater inclusion. Part of hotel presidential premises for sale to raise funds, says Enugu government. NECO releases SSCE results. Scores test high. Police rescue 23-year-old lady from fraudsters in Lagos. Northwest governors chart regional development agenda. Extend Igboho's freedom gesture to Kano, Igbo youths beg federal government. Artificial intelligence could help in early detection of eye diseases by experts. Federal government lists conditions for support, partnership with local airlines. Lagos impounds over 200 unregistered, unpainted vehicles. SILAC demands equity, justice in tax expenditure governance. Engage monarchs in security, Ekiti King tells federal government. Kano governor rewards worker for returning missing $16,000. Court martial sentences Major General to 7 years in prison. Oshun reduces curfew period in Ilobu. Ifon as communities seek relief for victims. Mapoli students protest hike in fees. Foundation donates 100 million naira as scholarship to boost education across Nigeria. Rivers pledges to revamp PHC's facilities across state. Tinubu 6 reps confirmation for NDDC board. NECO releases with taken days. Reps urge CBN to implement monetary policy adjustment to stabilize Naira. NESG tax stakeholders to leverage resources for economic recovery. Don blames harsh socio-economic condition on surge in mental health problems in Nigeria. EFCC arraigns man for 64 million naira property fraud in Enugu. Rights group urges adherence to rule of law on Ondo Deputy Governor impeachment. Human Rights Writers Association alleges critical deficiency in Enugu Governorship Election Tribunal's verdict. Kanu dams under distress, threatens food security. NMPCL denies a report on return of petrol subsidy. Diphtheria outbreak MPHC DA confirms death of 117 children in Yobe. NITDA opens application for networking event in Japan. EFCC denies invading Scales home. Obaseki approves payment of 28 years council pension gratuity backlog. And that's the much we can take from the Guardian newspaper this morning. And from the Guardian newspaper, we'll flip over to Leadership newspaper. 90% of Nigerians not on health insurance. Minister reps to revisit rejected pro-women bills. NHRC orders urge government to implement Mental Health Act. Tinubu celebrates Methodist prelate emeritus Makinde at 80 as forest inflow rises on subdued demand. Nigeria targets non-debt revenue, introduces new reforms. Dangote Cement denies running sales promo. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Leadership newspaper this morning. Nigeria targets non-debt revenue, introduces new reform. PwC Media announces winners at Excellence Awards 2023. UBA assures loyal customers of Grand Super Savers draw. Siemens sponsor Olojo Festival 2023. Why Nigeria should review BASAs. NLRC hosts International Gaming Conference to boost lottery business. Aviation Minister considers reviewing air service agreement with foreign countries. Nigeria's contribution pension scheme. Nigeria's contribution pension scheme. Nigeria accounting firm Pedabo joins Creston Global. Wema Bank grants 50 million naira to winners of Hacolics 4.0. Pencom disburses 10.2 billion naira to 142,486 NSITF scheme contributors, showcasing innovative solutions supporting tech ecosystem growth in Nigeria. Federal government targets drastic cuts in multiple taxation. CBN supplies a $5.78 billion foreign exchange in H1, down by 27%. National Assembly to consider climate change bill, restrict oil companies. Quarantine service destroys 16.5 million naira donkey skins in Kebbi. ASSBIFI to picket bank over disengagement of 30 staff. Bicotany raises tariff for car park, VIP lounge. Two fighting, none winning, looking for peace. And that's the much we can take from the Leadership newspaper this morning. And still on the stories making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers this morning, we flip over to Vanguard newspaper. Israel, Hamas war. Federal government holds pilgrimage as Lagos airlifts 310 from Jerusalem. Petrol stations shutting down. Marketers warn. CJN, AGF, others bid farewell to late Justice Nweze. Bad roads. Federal government gives contractors 14-day ultimatum. NECA to federal government begin plans for minimum wage review. Federal government to cut number of taxes to 9. I didn't forge my certificates. Article. Insecurity. We will help Nigeria overcome banditry, kidnapping, Boko Haram. European Union. INEC expects 5.4 million voters at Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi, off-cycle governorship elections. Bayelsa poll, Silva files appeal against disqualification. Bayelsa poll, Silva files appeal against disqualification. Ondo court strikes out deputy governor's case to stop impeachment. Bayelsa governorship poll, Silva files 3 grounds of appeal to challenge disqualification. Sadiq Abubakar, I didn't forge my certificate article. Hamas attacks on Israel were sheer evil. Biden, pregnant woman, motorcyclist rescued from Lagos auto crash. Reps to investigate the use of dollar, other foreign currencies as legal tender in Nigeria. General jailed 7 years by Army court-martial for stealing 3 billion naira. Southeast Economic and Security Summit, another talk show. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Tinubu writes reps for confirmation of Niger Delta Development Commission chairman, governing body. Sondo Igboho praises Obasanjo, Choyinka others after his release from Benin's custody. And that's the much we can take from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And from the Vanguard newspaper, we flip over to the Daily Post newspaper. Tinubu hails Methodist prelate Emeritus Makinde at 80. Tinubu directs immediate action plan to halt flooding in Nigeria. Sit-at-home order. Igbo lawyers tax Southeast governors. Bayelsa governorship election. Court judgment barring Silva from contesting mere distraction. Ganduje. Governor Abu Razak assures Kwara United of support. Governor Abu Razak assures Kwara United of support. Police arrest 2 suspected killers of VON reporter in Zamfara. Kanu man who returned the missing dollars get permanent job. Hajj set. ATBU debunks hike in tuition fees. Tinubu 6 reps confirmation for Niger Delta Development Commission Board. Federal government laments shortage of human resources in health sector. Communal clash. Osun government reduces curfew to 12 hours in Ilobu, Ifon. Sign peace corps bill into law. Adeyanju begs Tinubu. That's the much we can take from the Daily Post newspaper this morning. From the Daily Post newspaper, we'll flip over to the Punch newspaper. 18 parties just for 5.4 million votes in Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa. Adamawa Assembly probes recurring boat accidents. Insurgency. Chief of Defense Staff visit troops, says military will restore peace. Bayelsa, Diri mocks APC, Silva appeals disqualification. FCTA impounds 69 vehicles, vows owners prosecution. Police launch manhunt as gunmen abduct Nasarawa varsity students. Senate condemns 2.3 trillion oil theft, probes security agents. Federal government considering special anti-graft court, says AGF. Police finger nephew in VON journalist death. Lagos Assembly revisits Bamise's murder case. Niger Delta Development Commission, NLNG, sign pact on Niger Delta development. Forest crisis. Naira plunges to 1,025 Naira. Job losses. Factory shutdown loom. Forest crisis. Naira plunges to 1,025 kobo per dollar. Job losses. Factory shutdown loom. Senate wants social investment program under president's supervision. Army General jailed 7 years, ordered to refund 3.7 billion naira. NECO indicts 93 schools for cheating. Blacklist 52 supervisors. Flood kills 45, displaces 171,545 persons in 13 states. National Emergency Management Agency. Adeleke relaxes curfew in warring Oshun communities. Nigeria needs U.S. mentorship on democracy, says Akpabio. Leaders, followers to blame for Nigeria's woes. Foursquare GO. Senate demand more military presence in Niger. Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission suspends pilgrimage to Israel. Lagos contingent returns. Castena launches security corps. Deploys 770 patrol vans, motorcycles. Zamfara, Ogun. Two others battling highest cholera burden. Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Zamfara, Ogun. Two others battling highest cholera burden. NCDC. Ayedatiwa loses suit against Ondo Assembly. Launches appeal. Lagos boosts land use charge billing with tech. Sanwo-Olu swears in head of service. Lagos. NIPCOM plan homecoming for diaspora community. Sanwo-Olu seeks Assembly's approval to reorder 2023 budget. Tinubu orders immediate action plan on flooding. Hamas attack on Israel. Share evil. Biden. Chief of Army Staff kicks off exercise to clear on exploded explosives in Lagos. No evidence of direct Iran role in Hamas attack. Pentagon. No evidence of direct Iran role in Hamas attack. Pentagon. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Punch newspaper this morning. Hamas attack. Don't cut off water, food to Gaza. European Union urges Israel. MMA 2 increases car park, VIP, walk-in lounge tariffs. Insecurity. Senate demands more military presence in Niger. Tinubu hails prelate emeritus. We've taken this. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Punch newspaper this morning. Concrete roads. Umahi threatens to drag saboteurs to ICPC. Senate begins amendment of NSIPA Act. Judiciary shouldn't determine election winners. U.S. lawyer. Niger Delta Development Commission, NLNG, sign Memorandum of Understanding on Niger Delta Development. Oyebanji receives National Best Teacher Award winner. Court remands man, 54, over alleged murder in Edo. NMDPRA seals 6 petrol retail outlets in Delta. Army court martials sentences general to 7 years in prison. Poll calls Gaza priests to offer prayers. Oyotet, Senate fingers. Army, Navy commences investigation. Reps to investigate death of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital medical doctor. Ogun police arrest 124 suspects for murder. Others, 5.4 million voters registered for Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa polls, INEC. This is from Jungle Justice. Delta Commissioner of Police tells youth why I posted my academic records. Dalong. FCTA begins distribution of palliatives. Approved 35,000 naira palliative package. Workers beg Kogi governor. Shetty's ministerial nomination withdrawal showed cabal still exists, says ex-minister. EFCC arrests 2 suspected internet fraudsters at Scales residence. Step-by-step guide to checking 2023 NECO SSCE results. And that we can take from the Punch newspaper this morning. You are tuned to everyone at the 103.5 FM, and this is newspaper headlines. From the Punch newspaper, we'll flip over to the Nation newspaper. President directs immediate action plan to combat flooding. Social investment may return to presidency. Investors, rating agencies positive about Nigeria, says Edun. Army rearrest 3 escapee prisoners, 10 others in 1 week. Federal government begins insuring 83 million poor vulnerable Nigerians. Federal government begins insuring 83 million poor vulnerable Nigerians. Leaders seek global approach to anti-corruption campaign. General sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for stealing $2.1 million, 1.65 billion naira. Oil theft, Senate to probe security, militia groups. Ogun, Cross River, Zamfara, Adamawa highest in cholera cases, says Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Ogun, Cross River, Zamfara, Adamawa highest in cholera cases, says Nigeria Center for Disease Control. NECO, 93 schools involved in exam malpractice. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Nation newspaper this morning. Look after your mental health. World Health Organization, UNIC, tells journalists. Wema Bank announces Alcoholics competition winners. Niger Times third anniversary lecture, book presentation to hold October 19th. ICAN, NSE pledge support for power minister. Don't allow politicians use you as thugs, students warned. Bayelsa, Silva appeals judgment voiding his governorship ticket. INEC registers 5.4 million for ticket. INEC registers 5.4 million for Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa governorship polls. Labour Party candidate urged to step down for Ozodinma. APGA poised to reclaim Imo, says Soludo. Silva remains Bayelsa governorship candidate, APC declares. And that's the much we can take from the Nation newspaper this morning. And from the Nation newspaper, we'll flip over to this day newspaper. Nigeria lost 2.3 trillion naira to oil theft. The government will flush out saboteurs within works ministry, hand them over to ICPC. Niger Delta students decry IOC's neglect on education empowerment. IMF, Tinubu's policies paving way for inclusive growth. APC, Silva remains, we've taken this. Tinubu growth. APC, Silva remains, we've taken this. Development. Tinubu, accounting profession crucial for inclusive development. Dorman Long appoints Chris Ijeli as new managing director. House to screen presidential nominees to board. Management of G. We've taken this. Inflation. IMF cautions against premature rate reduction. Heirs Insurance Group launches digital insurance center. Stock market down 64 billion naira on literacy. Health tech startup insurance. NGX second stars partner to drive Beck and Call. Controversy persists as Akeredolu governs Ondo from side. Eyes on Inspector General of Police over police extortion scandals in Rivers FM. We'll now go for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue on the stories making the headline.
Abalị iri na asatọ n'ọkwa Adoration Ministry dị n'Ogidi Anukwu
3 to 4 p.m.
How best can we talk about the challenges we are having on our streets, our community, our society, and who will, as the happenings around us gets as with hardcore journalism to get to the roots of our problem? Why don't you join me, Martin Ifeanyi, number the first every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on Ebona 103.5 FM as street reports on foods in your face. On Emas Nebona de Kona 24/7 on foods in your face. On Emas Nebona de Kona 24/7 24/7.
You're welcome back to Newspaper Headlines on Ebona, the 103.5 FM. Remember, you can become part of the conversation by sending your reactions via SMS 8096661035. You can as well join us on Facebook as we're live on Ebona. On the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Lagos arrests over 200 unregistered, unpainted vehicles. Nigerians didn't know implications of subsidy removal. Pengas president, don't relent in your big brother rule, Akpabio tells US. Expect consequences for non-performance. Oyebanji warns worker. Palliative. Cross River government begins second batch distribution. Impeachment. Ondo court strikes out deputy governor's case. Make 100,000 naira new minimum wage. Lawyer urges Tinubu. Son, decorated as Ogbomosho Council Grand Patron, unveils blueprint. Reps urge Ministry of Works to commence construction of Section B, East-West Road. Police parade killers of Zamfara journalist, Danjigba. NMDPRA sails 6 petrol stations over sharp practices. Para government debunks rumors of forceful vaccination. Alleged forgery. Court adjourns OGFZA staff's arraignment till November 1. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Still on the stories making the headlines on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. FEMA reduces emergency response time to 3 minutes in FCT. Church leaders begin 40 days fasting ahead of National Prayer Day. Sell moribund oil refiner intelligence equipment to tackle insecurity. Governor Rada launches Castina Watch Corps. 2 killed as Suspected herdsmen clash with vigilantes in Delta. FCTA urges staff to embrace cyber skills. Defense, Humanitarian Affairs Ministries collaborate on Project Nigeria. Release Nnamdi Kanu same way this morning. From the Nigeria Tribune, we flip over to the Sun newspaper. What Tinubu must do to fix Nigeria. Pastor Ashimolowo, 21 years after, army mops up unexploded bombs in Ikeja cantonment. Emergency responders rescue 3 from fallen truck in Lagos. Pengassan hits president over lavish appointments. Zamfara, Cross River, Adamawa, Ogun top cholera cases list. Zamfara, Cross River, Adamawa, Ogun top cholera cases list. Tinubu backs Umahi over war against contractors. 99,985 Nigerian students left for UK universities in 5 years. Federal government. Respect agreement on rotational governorship. Step down for Uzodinma. Chukwu tells Achonu. APC will rule Benue for years. Alia declares. Silva asks appeal court to stay execution of judgment disqualifying him. Why judiciary should always uphold Nigerian law. Pogu Bitrus. Imo Agog as APC flags up mother of all Guba campaign. INEC confirms 5.4 million electorate to vote in Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, Guba poll. That's the much you can take from the Sun newspaper this morning. That will also mark the conclusion of all that we have for you on this particular edition of Newspaper Headlines on Ebona, the 103.5 FM. We'll now flip over to our WhatsApp portal to bring you reactions. And this morning on our WhatsApp portal, we got a message from Ndubisi Okafor from Umueze Umunachi, and he says President Tinubu's calling to industrialize health sector will not stop migration of health workers to developed countries. Instead, it will worsen the sector. Increase welfare and workforce of the health sector will help reduce the dying health sector. Ndubisi Okafor from Umueze Umunachi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we got a message that says, this one is coming from Christian, famous Christian, is joining us from Ifite Village. Now, we got a message that says, this one is coming from Christian, famous Christian, is joining us from Ifite Village, Aguluzibo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we got a message from Christian Ufondo from Onitsha, and it says, there is no amount of threat that can stop the sit-at-home order unless Nnamdi Kanu is released. This is because the agitation, and if wants to stop the sit-at-home after Nigeria has added salt to the injury, is just like one adding fuel to fire. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we got a message from Valentine Edene from Ubo, and it says, easier said than done. The European Union should be aware that what Cabals said in years back in the dispensation of Goodluck Jonathan, that killing Boko Haram terrorists, and then he says, that's the sin where insecurity escalating. It's escalating, and said now they want to help Nigerian government to stop terrorism. Anyway, it's a welcome development. It's done. Valentine Edene from Mumbo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we got a message from Waloto Patrick from Monteja, and he says, I quit support Salisu for urging government to raise minimum. Okay, I quite support Salisu for urging government to raise minimum wage to 100,000 naira left alone. I would suggest 200,000 naira as minimum wage, putting into consideration the prevailing economic realities in the country. I will equally suggest that the minimum wage this time around will cut across board. It will not be like the previous ones where the state governors will be asked to go and negotiate with labor in their various states after a benchmark for a national minimum wage has been reached. And you know what that means. What it means is that the governors will, as usual, make mess of the whole thing. They will forget that both the federal workers and the state workers live in the same country, pay the same school fees for their children, pay the same house rents, pay the same transport fares, etc. So there is no need for the disparity in the minimum wage. This is coming from Waloto Patrick. Thank you. Army Court Martial's Major General for stealing 1.4 years. That judgment is partial. Hope he returned the looted money and it is being judiciously used. Dollar keeps rising to 1,025 naira per dollar, and our politicians keep enriching themselves instead of stabilizing it. Please, who do we offend for in this country? And he says those 200 unregistered vehicles Lagos state government arrested, hope they will not auction it. And Engineer Ebuka Joshua Dawson from 33. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we got a message from Comrade Ibudu from Abaga, and he says the world is coming to an end. The Bible told us that about this thing, about all of this, and he says students born against being thugs. I love that. This is what we face every time. Reason is because graduates have no jobs. So whenever they get such an opportunity, they are glad at once. Okay, and they said we got a message from the boss from Okuzu, and he says elect for joining us this morning, and we got a message from the boss from Okuzu, and he says election coming up in Imo. I pray this morning that God will take control of everything so that Imo State can once again have peace with good government. Amen. And he says again, he says, release Mazen and the Kano just like you have released Sunday Igoho. Do this for us, Tinubu. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message from Pauline Muizu from Onitsha, and he says Uburuku killings is better for the residents to chase the intruders away to safeguard their farmland. Usage of cement on federal roads is good, but we must learn about it from China. Pauline Muizu from Onitsha. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message from Chiko Bata from Obineti Okozu, and he says, well, we'll continue cost problems until fuel subsidy removal reverses back. And then you go thanks Yoruba elders of his release. Can Igbo elders do the same for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? Please, our president should hear the call of Nnamdi Kanu's release. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message from Amechi Anene from Uru Nkwele Ogidi, and it says, let Nigeria government release Nnamdi Kanu as they released Sunday Igboho, and it says God is watching. Tinubu, do the flip over to our SMS portal to bring you more reactions. On our SMS portal this morning, we got a message that says, let me unequivocally say that the poverty of our politics and politicking is dramatized by our politics of hate, revenge, deceit, falsehood, and lack of restraint in Nigerian political opponents, in Nigeria, to the detriment of our national unity, when we should have been working for the outright removal of these differences. May God help us. Comrade Manli Oduogo from Odume, Obosi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message from Aja from Odume, and he says, I thank God for the forced scarcity in Abuja. No need of INEC conducting Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo election. They failed Nigerians in presidential election. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Aja from Odume. We got a message from Alaket Adams Obinna and his elegy by the parents of the victims. The federal government is not doing anything good to encourage the suffering citizens. Rather, they keep on introducing onerous and more humongous policies that will cause untimely death to the citizens. This nation has not gotten an onions that will douse the sour bitter of the soup. The nation is now in a terrible situation as so many things has fallen apart, and the center may not hold again. There is the 4 foreign experts to handle this nation. Okay, maybe there is a 4 to handle this nation. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message that's on Nwifuru to give transportation in Ebonyi. A free transportation in Ebonyi is a welcome development. Kudos to him. Chijoke from Okidi. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message that says to sentence to death for that police officer that killed a lawyer is a welcome development. This is coming from Wingate Ikechukwu. On our Facebook portal this morning, we got a message from Tochukwu Ekwoba, and he says, I stand with Israel on the ongoing attack on Gaza. No going back. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Achuke Rosemary says, okay, thank you so much for joining us. Tochukwu Ekwoba. Chukuma Onyoka says, Okay, he's joining us from Nemo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Chukwuma Onyoka. And Nyangwa Tonya, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And okay, from Mpo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's see if we can get you more reactions. And from our WhatsApp portal this morning, we got a message from also Francis Nnamani from Amagunze in Enugu State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we got a message that says the East-West Road needs serious work so that the road will last after construction. The calling to industrialize health sector is just a talk without implementation. Is exactly it. But he says an Ebonyi state government securing 4 buses for Ebonyi students and workers for the, and he continued that says abducting female students is now so much for joining us this morning. Now we got a message that says oil theft will not stop in Nigeria. No common man involved in oil theft, rather the influential and government. No ship enters country without the permission of Navy. Why will we continue to pursue shadows when we know the truth? Government must tell us the truth on the oil theft. Ndubisi Okafor from Umunashi. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And this is the 8:20. We'll be back with Birthday Splash. And
Mama na ụmụaka maka ịmata ihe gbasara ezinụlọ classic lady Ifo nwanne m dekene ka m jụọ kedu ebe m ga-enweta ezigbo MC maka mmemme a na-akwado Ifo nwanne m dekene ka m jụọ kedu ebe m ga-enweta ezigbo MC maka mmemme a na-akwado
the latest MC in town. Kakison Gyawa Grave. In our Chesimo MC Mob DJ. Now, by Mountain Go in a phone. I was you, my one graduation. Saka Diana.